Hey everybody, welcome back to the Game Vault. This is the Captain's Log 111522, and I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, as always. Well, we're going to talk about a couple things today. First and foremost is the announcement I heard today, and I think the news just broke today, and that is that the upgraded next-gen console version of The Witcher 3 will be releasing on December 14th, 2022, so in just a few short weeks away. Yeah, about a month away actually, and it's going to be a free upgrade if you already own the game, which is great. And yeah, that, and it's including all of the DLC that came with it. So you're looking at an entire experience there. So if you've played the game before and you want to revisit it, it's probably recommended to do so and see how it does on this next-gen hardware. If you've never played the game before, this is kind of a must-play game for anyone who's a fan of the fantasy genre, open world games, that sort of stuff. It's incredible. You get to see what all the hype is about, for the TV show and all that. And it's a lot of fun. And I know CD Projekt Red, they're not charging a dime for this, which is pretty incredible. A lot of times you get remasters and stuff like that, and they charge you a pretty penny for it. So good for them, man. They're doing great. These guys are, after the whole cyberpunk thing, they are really coming around and becoming a very consumer friendly developer. So kudos to them on that. But moving on, we're going to talk about God of War Ragnarok in this. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything like that in this discussion here real quick. I just kind of want to give you my take on the game so far. It's been out for quite a few days now. I'm doing 2 simultaneous playthroughs on it and creating content and all that. This is the kind of game I would have loved to have just sat down and played through it that first time through and enjoyed everything. But I want to create that content and share it with you guys so you can enjoy it as much as I am. And my thoughts on it. So, to me, overall, it's a great game. Is it a 10 out of 10? It's pretty damn close, I would say. But again, I haven't done the whole game yet, so I really can't tell you. A lot of, it's getting a lot of criticism on Twitter and the like because, the old console war crap where you've got people that have Xbox hate people that have PlayStation for some reason. But that's a story for another segment. But, is it a glorified movie? Yeah, it's got great cutscenes and all that. But it's also, it's filmed in the same way the original one was, which is one continuous camera shot. The combat has expanded a little bit from what I've seen so far. There's a little bit more to it. The story is compelling. The characters, the actors playing these characters, are not like as traditionally Nordic as you might want. So what do I mean by that? Like if you had played Valhalla, everyone sounded like they were from the Nordic region, they had the accents and all that. In this one, you'll get a variety of accents and so forth and so on, which is kind of it works. Okay, it works. The characters don't look the same as you're used to from movies and so forth and so on and other depictions. They, things are a little bit different as far as that goes, and their interactions are, they're just great. There is an early scene where Kratos and Atreus are at home and they get a couple of unexpected visitors. And, it's very early in the game, no spoiler alert there, but, but that whole scene with them is intense, and it's got some really good moments and it's very cinematic. It builds tension. So when the scene breaks down and you end up in a fight, it's more exciting. Like I said, the combat's great. You start off, of course, with the Leviathan axe like the last one, but you don't have to wait half the game to get your blades like you did the last time, which is great. I love having the blades back. It's just fantastic to have that. It's great. So overall, I'm really enjoying the game. I'm trying to get through these different areas and complete them as much as possible. Much like the last game, it doesn't look like you can do everything on your initial run through an area, like your first time going to Svartalheim. There are things that you just cannot unlock, and that's not because you don't have the skill for it, it's because you don't have the tools to do it. So we're going to have to come back to these areas, which would be cool, and I'm hoping and I'm sure we'll get a new game plus down the line. I don't even know if there's one available now. I haven't seen anything about it. A couple disappointments in the game, and these are very minor. One is that there is not a proper photo mode as of yet, and I know that might seem like a small thing, but when you make videos and all that, it's kind of fun to have a photo mode because you can really play around with things and create some fun thumbnails for it. It's not that important, and Santa Monica Studios did state that it would not have a photo mode upon release, but it will have one post-release. So hopefully we'll see that soon. And another minor complaint is the frequency in which Atreus will will tell you the answer or push you in a direction of giving you the answer to a puzzle you might be facing, or something you have to solve. So you'll be standing somewhere and be like, well, what if we go up there? And you're like, oh, thanks. Yeah, we've been here 2 seconds. So hopefully Santa Monica, a lot of people, I'm not the only one talking about that. It is a little frustrating. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I would love to see that as something you can disable and or control the frequency in which it occurs or how long it takes before it occurs. It wouldn't be bad if I was sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes and then finally Atreus was like, hey, Dad, look over there. And you're like, geez, kid, all right, thanks. But it's almost immediate sometimes, and that's a little frustrating. Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy does the same thing to some degree in there, although I think Atreus is a little more pushy with it, to be exact. But these developers listen, so that's a pretty popular minor complaint that I've seen around. So we'll see what happens with that. Well, let's move on. So let's talk about the Game of the Year nominees right now. There are 6 nominees, and I guess the winner is going to be announced on December 8th, so, just a few weeks away. And I've got my thoughts on some of these here. So let's start up with A Plague Tale Requiem. That's a brand new game that just came out, the sequel to the very popular A Plague Tale Innocence, which I played through and thoroughly enjoyed. I have not played Requiem yet. There's just too much going on for me to play that game right now. But I guarantee you in the future I will be buying that one, or getting it on the PlayStation Plus, whatever. I will be playing that game. That is something that's very interesting. I hear great things about it from those who have played it. The story is very moving, and it just seems like it's firing on all cylinders. It's taking what the first one did and only doing it a little bit better. Next one on the list is Elden Ring. Elden Ring, the game that almost blew up the internet. So Elden Ring, I have Elden Ring. I got it shortly after it came out. I wasn't big on it. I was never a big From Software guy. You can see I'm actually have footage right now, Demon Souls Remaster up here, but this was not a company a developer I ever followed or played their games. So Elden Ring was a brand new experience for me, and let me tell you, it was one of the most humbling, humiliating gaming experiences of my life, and I loved it. It was great. Look at that, just get shot dead like that. That's exactly how I'm talking about Elden Ring. You saw that more than you saw anything else in that game, is that you died screen. But it forced you to get good. It forced you to get better, and that's what was cool about it. It was such a great game. It took that From Software formula that you saw in Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Bloodborne and so forth and so on, and put it in this massive open world that was strangely beautiful. I mean, you look at, so you can compare games like a God of War type game, which is very cinematic and all that. You can compare it to a game like Elden Ring, which it's not as cinematic. It doesn't have like these crazy cut scenes or these neat transition scenes and all that, so much as it's just gorgeous to walk around in that world and to look around in awe. I mean, you're looking at, like, look at that tree, look at that castle in the distance. Everything looks lived in, old, and just this haunting beauty to that entire world, which was pretty amazing. So Elden Ring is definitely a contender. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people voting for it yeah. Next up, God of War Ragnarok, the one we just talked about, what I'm playing through right now, and although I'm not done with it yet, I can see why it would be a contender for Game of the Year. Does it have the innovation that Elden Ring had? Not really. I think it's a far more, it's a narrative story more than Elden Ring was. Elden Ring was just kind of like, hey, here's your little crappy weapon, and here's barely any armor. Now go out there and try not to get killed. And then you went out and you got killed. So it didn't have that structured story to it that is more prevalent in more games these days, like games like a Plague Tale, for instance, or God of War Ragnarok, which is great. I'm not knocking it one bit. It was a new experience for me, and sometimes I felt like, wow, I'm a little lost, but then I kind of appreciated it because I'm like, well, you know what? Let me just go over here and see what's happening over here, and I'd find these new areas and all kinds of cool stuff, and so yeah, it really left things open for exploration and for you, with your imagination. And it was a game, like usually games teach you that in the beginning you fight easy creatures and you get XP and you get better weapons and you get better armor, magic, whatever, and you get stronger to fight stronger enemies later. Well, Elden Ring, right from the beginning, throws a horrendous monster at you that you can't defeat. But anyway, back to God of War Ragnarok. Ragnarok's more structured like that, where in the beginning the creatures aren't as tough. Even though you start off with a couple boss battles, they're nowhere near the brutality level of the running into that damn what was it, the tree sentinel. Oh god, yeah. So they're fun, they're great, they are beatable. Just takes a little bit of memorization of moves and dodges and when to parry and when to run and all that kind of stuff. But as far as game of the year, I could see it taking it, on those kind of principles. Although Elden Ring, I think, still has a slight edge because of just the innovation of it. We never had an open world From Software game, and it was very unique in that it just, it kind of took over the whole gaming community, and it actually kind of made it tough for the next contender of Game of the Year, which is Horizon Forbidden West, another Sony exclusive title. This one from Guerrilla Games. I played the original Horizon Zero Dawn and loved it. I loved Aloy, I loved the story, I loved the world. The world was cool. Everything about it was great. And Forbidden West was kind of more the same. The story maybe wasn't as compelling as Zero Dawn, but it was still a pretty solid story. Graphically, it's just gorgeous. The gameplay mechanics were a lot of fun. There was new stuff. You revisited the old stuff, but you also had a lot of new stuff you could do. And you had a glider. Everyone wants to put a glider or a grappling hook in their game these days, it seems, if not both. But it had a glider, it had a mount that could fly late in the game. There was so much good about it. Great acting for the most part. There was a couple weak spots in there. I think overall acting is better in God of War Ragnarok, but in any case, it was still a great game. But it released, I think Elden Ring came out like a week later, and everybody's like, Horizon what? But still a good game. Game of the year, I don't know. Stray. Stray is the next one on the list. This is probably the biggest underdog, if you pardon the pun. It's an indie game, and it's not a very long game. It took me, I think, one night to finish it. I made a whole series of videos on it in one night, and that was me videotaping, uploading, and doing just the minor editing of adding a title card and all that to it. But there wasn't a lot of meat to the game, but it was unique. You never got to play as a cat before, and here you are. You're just a stray cat in this weird. They call it a cyberpunk city. I don't know if it's cyberpunk so much, but it's this weird, like, futuristic city full of robots, and you're trying to get back to your family that you got separated from, and it takes you through a series of puzzles. There is no real combat in the game. There is a couple parts where you need to get through some enemies, and you burn them up with like some kind of UV light type thing. That's it. Not not real combat. It's not like you're up there clawing and biting and all that and scratching eyes out. It was just that sort of thing, which was cool. Cool. Great game, loved it. I would highly recommend it to anybody who could play it. It was free on the PlayStation Premium. That made it definitely a no-brainer. Would I have paid the $30 or $40 it was on release? I don't know that I would have. So that's the thing that really makes me wonder about it. Would I like to see Stray win? I would love to see Stray win Game of the Year, just because it would burn down the internet, and I'm like the Joker. I just want to watch the world burn. But I would love to see it win, not only because of that, but because I think the studio did a great job. They made a beautiful, fun game that was so unique to me. I've never played anything like it, and the the detractors will call it a cat simulator and all that, which it kind of was. I mean, you could knock stuff off of countertops and windowsills and all that. You know, it was a blast. So I highly recommend Stray. Loved it. Will it take Game of the Year? I guarantee you it won't, but yeah, it would be funny if it did. And the last but not least of these is the Xenoblade Chronicles 3. This game I admittedly know nothing about. I never played any Xenoblade Chronicles games, so it is in there as one of the contenders. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it, so I really can't give you an opinion on the game itself. The other 5 I've either played through or know enough of that I played, you know, something else in that series, whatever, or played some of it at least. But Xenoblades is a mystery to me. So tell me down in the comments, what are your thoughts? Who do you want? Which game do you want for Game of the Year? You know, overall, looking at all these games, I have a feeling it's going to go to Elden Ring just because it has that edge due to the originality factor of it and how much of an impact it had on the industry. While God of War Ragnarok is great and it builds off the old God of War, it doesn't bring us anything brand spanking new and super innovative, although it does build on the predecessor, you know. So that's my thoughts on it. Horizon Forbidden West, great game, but Game of the Year, no, those 2 games both outshine it. And Stray, like I said, I'd love to see it as an underdog, but that's just not going to happen. It doesn't work that way. And of course, A Plague Tale Requiem, if it's half as good as I hear, I'd love to see it. But my final thoughts, Elden Ring. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and don't forget to leave a comment down below and a like on the video. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know your thoughts on Game of the Year, and I'll see you next time. Until then, peace.